May 10, 1986. A 17-year-old girl tells her sister, "I'll be back in an hour." She doesn't take her purse. She doesn't take her jacket. Because her plan was simple. Just a quick outing with friends. Never ended. Today, 40 years later, her family still looks at the door she walked out of that night. And the question remains, what happened to Kim Moreau? Kim was born in January 1969 to Richard and Patricia Moreau, the youngest of three sisters. She was a cheerleader in high school, part of the gymnastics team, and dreamed of becoming a model one day. She had even entered the Miss Maine competition, a competition that would take place just weeks after she disappeared. Kim had a boyfriend, Mike Staples, who had given her his class ring to wear. But for Kim, small-town life in Jay felt boring. She wanted something bigger, a life in a big city. But in the months before she disappeared, her friends noticed Kim changing. She grew quieter, more withdrawn, drifting away from her old friends. The reason? A new friendship with Rhonda Breton. Rhonda was allegedly possessive and didn't want Kim having other friends. On May 9th, Kim found out Mike had been cheating on her. The two got into an argument, and Kim decided she would no longer go to the junior prom with him the next night. In fact, she planned to skip prom altogether. On the night of May 10th, Kim went out with Rhonda. There, Rhonda introduced her to two 25-year-old men, Brian Enman and Darren Jowdry, Rhonda's boyfriend. The four of them went out joyriding in a white Pontiac Trans Am around 11 p.m. They brought Kim back home so she could touch up her makeup. There, she told her older sister Karen, "I'll be back in an hour." Nothing seemed off to Karen. Kim looked completely normal. She got back into the Trans Am and left again after that. No one ever saw Kim Moreau alive again. When the night passed and Kim didn't come home, her parents went to the police station only to be told they'd have to wait 48 hours before filing a missing persons report. The family started their own investigation, and this is where the first inconsistency emerged. Brian Enman claimed he dropped Kim off around 1:15 a.m. near Jewel Street, half a mile from her home, because she wanted to walk the rest of the way alone. But to Kim's parents, this story simply didn't add up. Kim was afraid of the dark. She never walked alone at night, not even short distances. And it was a cold night, and her jacket was still sitting at home, so why would she have done that? While police kept dismissing the case as a runaway, the Moreau family kept questioning people themselves. They learned that night, and Jowdry had spent time at a party in Livermore Falls involving alcohol and drugs, where Calvin Tidswell was also present, an arcade owner known for dealing cocaine on the side, witnesses said. Kim and Calvin got into an argument. Some claimed it turned physical. Sometime later, Calvin was found in possession of Kim's class ring, the same ring Mike had given her. Calvin claimed he'd traded alcohol for the ring with Mike. But here's the question. If Kim was wearing that ring the night she vanished, how did it end up with Mike, when Mike never even saw her that night? Then there's Darren Jowdry's reaction when Kim's sister asked him where Kim was. "I don't know, no Kim." And Brian Enman's strange statement that he'd had consensual sex with Kim, a word people don't usually use unless they're worried about being accused of something. Rhonda Breton never revealed anything. She even claimed she barely knew Kim, even though the family knew that was a lie. 4 months later, police finally admitted Kim wasn't a runaway, and she was entered into the National Crime Information Center database. Searches continued for years. In 2004, in 2015, at Enman's former property using ground-penetrating radar and cadaver dogs, and in 2024, when a psychic medium found skeletal remains behind a bowling alley which later turned out to belong to someone else entirely. Every time, no solid evidence turned up. During this time, Patricia, Kim's mother, passed away in 1987 from cancer. Never knowing what happened to her daughter, Rhonda Breton and Darren Jowdry have both since passed away. Only Brian Enman and Calvin Tidswell are still alive, and to this day, no one has ever officially been named a suspect. Giving the Morrow family a renewed sense of hope, Kim's sister Karen said, "We need closure. The answer is out there somewhere. Please help us. If you ever come across any information about this case, anything at all, please reach out to the authorities." Kim Morrow is still missing, and her family is still counting the minutes of that hour that never ended. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss stories like this. See you in the next video. Until then, take care of yourselves. April 4th, 1991. A 20-year-old pregnant woman is talking to her fiancé on a payphone. She tells him she's tired and just wants to go home and take a bath. Suddenly, her tone changes. She says, "There's a strange man circling this block in his truck, over and over." Just seconds later, the only sound coming through the phone is a scream, followed by a man's cold voice. "I didn't need to use the phone anyway." Then the line goes dead. Forever. Angie was born in February 1971 in Kansas City, the oldest child of Christopher and Marcia Hammond. In 1975, the family moved to Clinton, Missouri, where Marcia's parents lived. Angie was always cheerful, energetic, and loved being around people. She was attending Central Missouri State University and had a boyfriend of 1 year, 18-year-old Rob Schaefer in January 1991. When Rob found out Angie was pregnant, he proposed to her. The two were happy, had moved in together, and Rob was planning to join the military later that year. Everything seemed normal. A small, happy life was about to begin, but fate had other plans. On the evening of April 4th, 1991, Angie and Rob went to a barbecue at her mother's house. Afterward, Angie dropped Rob off at his family's home, where he was babysitting his younger brother. Angie then spent some time with her friend Kyla. At around 11:15 p.m., she called Rob from a payphone in the food barn parking lot, since they didn't have a phone at home. This was a normal thing for them to do. She told Rob she was tired and just wanted to go home and relax. But as they talked, Angie noticed a green Ford pickup truck circling the block, again and again. The truck had a distinctive mural on its rear windshield, a fish jumping out of the water. Eventually, the truck pulled up next to her. A filthy, bearded man got out, wearing a dark baseball cap and overalls. He took out a flashlight and started looking at the ground, as if searching for something he'd dropped. Confused, Angie asked him, "Do you need to use the phone?" He said no, but kept standing there now. Angie was getting nervous. If he didn't need the phone and the store was closed, why was he still there? And why had he circled the block so many times? Then Angie's scream suddenly came through the phone, and right after it, that stranger's cold voice, "I didn't need to use the phone anyway." Then the call cut off. Rob immediately ran out of the house, got in his car, and sped off. On the way, he passed the same truck heading in the opposite direction, and he heard his name being called out. In Angie's voice, Rob quickly threw the car into reverse in his haste, damaging the transmission, and began chasing the truck. After following it for 2 miles, his transmission completely failed, and he could only watch helplessly as the truck disappeared into the darkness. All he managed to make out was XY on the license plate. The rest of the number was covered in dirt. The Missouri State Highway Patrol launched a search by land and by air. They checked hundreds of old green Ford trucks, but never found the one from that night at first. Police suspected Rob, but his car's failed transmission checked out, and he passed a polygraph test. Within days, other witnesses came forward who had seen a similar truck and man that night. Rob was soon cleared of suspicion, but Angie was nowhere to be found. Over the following months, people from different states and even Canada claimed to have spotted Angie. The most interesting report came in September 1991, when a man named Russell Smith in Canada said he saw Angie leaving a drugstore, getting into that same green truck with the fish mural, but it was never confirmed. The case slowly went cold. Investigators suspected Angie's case might be connected to two other women who vanished within a 100-mile radius of Clinton: Trudy Darby, who was later found murdered, and Cheryl Kenny, who has never been found to this day. Several serial killers' names also came up: Kenneth who was living in Kansas City at the time, and Larry Hall, whose appearance matched the description of the stranger. But both denied any connection to Angie's case, and no solid evidence was ever found linking either of them to it. On the 30th anniversary of the abduction, a new lead surfaced: a cut-and-paste letter sent to a confidential informant. The letter contained a threat about his daughter, who was also named Angela and lived in Clinton. The letter was postmarked April 4, 1991, the very day Angie was abducted. Was this a case of mistaken identity? Was the real target a different Angela? That question is still searching for an answer today. Angie's mother, Marcia, never gave up hope. She even became friends with Janice McCall, mother of one of the Springfield Three. The two women bonded over the same kind of pain. Sadly, Marcia passed away in 2021, never finding her daughter. Rob Schaefer never fully recovered from the trauma. He was haunted by the feeling that he couldn't save Angie. To this day, Angie Hammond's case remains a mystery. Who her abductor was, and what happened to her, that question still hangs in the air, unanswered. If you have any information about this case, please contact the Clinton Police Department. If I'm not back by this afternoon, come looking for me. These were the last words 25-year-old Mary Shin said to her friend on the morning of July 20, 1978, before leaving to meet a stranger about selling a house. By that evening, her car was found sitting empty in a grocery store parking lot, unlocked, her purse and shoes left inside, and there was only one thing missing from that purse: her address book. Today, nearly 50 years later, the question remains: what happened to Mary Shin? Mary was born in January 1953 to Gresham and Sue Shin, one of 5 children. Known affectionately as Bobo, she was cheerful, kind, and had a real talent for art, something she inherited from her mother, Sue. She also loved tennis and swimming. After graduating from Southern Arkansas University, she bought her own art studio and began teaching children's art classes. Some reports call her a real estate agent, but that's not quite accurate. She was actually house flipping, buying a property, renovating it, and selling it for a profit. Her latest project was a small 2-bedroom house on McNeil Street that she'd fully renovated. Her ad read, "Beginner's Delight, 2-bedroom house completely remodeled. Good location." Within days, a stranger called, interested in the house. On July 19th, Mary showed him the property, though she felt he probably wasn't going to buy it. But the next day, the man called again with a new offer. He said he had a piece of land on Highway 132 he could trade for the house. But first, he wanted to see the property one more time. Mary agreed. They arranged for her to pick him up at the Easy Mart, since the man claimed his car was in the shop. That morning, a young girl at the Easy Mart saw a man come in asking for a quarter to use the phone. He made a 5-minute call on the payphone, right around the time Mary had received her call. Authorities believe this was likely the same man. The girl described him a white man, around 5'8", curly hair, weighing 185 to 200 pounds. Another witness, an employee, gave a similar description, noting the man had a lazy gait. Mary taught her class as usual that morning. Before leaving, she told her friend, "If I'm not back by this afternoon, come looking for me." Then she left, and she never came back. By evening, with no word from Mary, her family grew worried. Her mother Sue went looking for her. A salesman at a nearby dealership told her he'd seen a car matching Mary's at the Easy Mart around noon. and had seen a man get into it. Then came a chilling detail. No cars were being serviced that day at the dealership, meaning the stranger had lied to Mary about his car. Later, the salesman spotted the same blue Buick parked behind Smitty's grocery store. It was unlocked. Store employees said they'd seen it there since around 1 p.m. Police arrived around 6 p.m. The car's windows were down, the keys inside. They found grass and seeds in the car, and scratches and dirt on the outside, even though Mary always kept her car clean, and it had just been washed the day before. Everything suggested the car had been driven through a field. Her purse was still inside, credit cards, cash, her wallet, everything, except one thing, her address book. Investigators believed her attacker may have taken it to hide his identity. Her white sneakers were found stuffed under the brake and gas pedals, something her family said she'd never done before. And a yellow air mattress she kept in the trunk for sunbathing was also missing. Asterisk, the whole Magnolia community was shaken. Sheriff Mike Liu later said that in 1978, Magnolia was a calm, peaceful place, and nothing like this had ever happened there before. Police, with search dogs and bloodhounds, combed through fields, woods, and ponds. Nothing turned up. A carpenter claimed he'd seen Mary with someone that day, but his description matched a neighbor who was later ruled out as a suspect. The most disturbing account came from a farmer who saw a blue car swerving strangely on Highway 32, as if there was a struggle happening between a man and a woman inside. This was never confirmed. Over 300 people were interviewed. Leads poured in from states like Florida, California, New York, Texas, and Louisiana, but nothing panned out. Asterisk. One of them, William C. Deere, became convinced that a local man named Michael Morse was responsible. His description matched, and he'd taken that exact day off to meet with a real estate agent. But in October 1978, 27-year-old Morse took his own life. Acting on a psychic's tip, Deere even had Morse's late father's grave exhumed, hoping to find Mary's body there. Nothing was found. Morse but found no evidence tying him to Mary's disappearance. Asterisk, Mary's parents, Gresham and Sue, both passed away without ever learning what happened to their daughter, Gresham, in 1986, and Sue in 2012. For years, Sue wouldn't leave the house unless someone was there to answer the phone, just in case her daughter called in 2025. The case saw its first major update in decades. A tip led to a search near Bussey, Arkansas. Sheriff Liu said he believes the answer lies with someone local. To this day, Mary Shin's case remains unsolved. The identity of the stranger, who claimed he wanted to buy her house, is still unknown. If you have any information about this case, please contact the Columbia County Sheriff's Office. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss stories like this. See you in the next video.